We are going live. Peace, love, and blessings, and welcome to Friday Night Live. Okay. Right, we are in the house. Okay, so if you're watching this live, then I'm going to try and multitask so I can see you. So feel free to ask any questions or just let me know that you're there. And if you are, hey, Mr. DJ, watching on the replay, then give me a hashtag replay. Okay, so welcome. This is all about love and relationships and looking for love, where we've been, where we're trying to get to, and what does this all have to do with the spiritually conscious minded professional woman living her purpose. So this is what we're exploring today. And I would like to introduce you to my wonderful guest who's all ton up and looking pretty up on the screen. SJ Martins. SJ, how you doing?
Hey y'all, I'm really well. I'm in London. I'm jealous of your sunshine, but I cannot complain.
Good. Big up, Melanie. I see you just jump on the thing. Bless up. So SJ, can you just apart from just being a wonderful being on this planet and being, in the Purpose is Everything Facebook group, there's another reason why I've asked you on, because you run something called Soulfully Single. Can you just quickly introduce you and what you do and a bit about Soulfully Single?
Okay, so I'm SJ Martins. SJ is short for Sarah Jane. No one really calls me Sarah Jane, but some people call me Sarah, including my mum. And I have been on, I guess, my conscious spiritual journey started probably about 6 years ago. So just after I'd nudged after mid-30s. And I guess it is all with the beauty of hindsight. But really what kind of nudged me into the soul exploration and having to delve deeper was being single, and kind of the disappointment, not only about relationships, but really, if I'm honest, the main thing that was kind of really upsetting for me around that time was kind of the realization that I may not have my own children, may not birth my own children, let's say. And all the other stuff about kind of what am I going to do if I'm by myself and all that kind of thing. So that's what led me to that's what kind of kicked off my conscious spiritual journey. And I did a lot of kind of, a few quite deep years of soul exploring. And I came out of that the same person, but a completely different person, if you get what I mean. And I started, it was such a profound experience. I started doing work in that area. So I started off training as a yoga teacher. My yoga journey was interesting because it started off very much in the physical aspect of the practice. And it was almost kind of a challenge to me to be able to push myself through that. And so many people have this same story with yoga, but actually what happened was it was kind of taking that on the mat practice off the mat. And after I kind of got over my big hurdles, the yoga for me very much became much more about the philosophy of it rather than the physical practice. Although I do really enjoy the physical practice, it was much more about kind of the energy of it and the I guess some Buddhist theories. I'm not Buddhist, but some Buddhist theories and that kind of thing. I got really interested in that, and that kind of led me into more exploration about the kind of, when I got into the energy of it, I got into the science of the energy as well as the spirituality of the energy. And it was like, oh my God, all this stuff crosses over, like science is spirituality, like, wow. And yeah, that kind of led me down. Along the way, I got part of my practice that really helped me in my journey was kind of connecting back to nature. And one of the big practices that worked for me was connecting with the moon. So when I was teaching yoga, I then started doing moon circles. Within the moon circles, it was kind of lots of kind of this was pre-COVID, so it was lots of interaction with people and kind of having conversations, holding space. That then led me to work with people one-to-one. And at the time, my business was called House of High Life, based on kind of vibes and energy. And not to say that it's all about everything being positive, but it was about managing your vibration, like learning to understand that it's kind of learning to understand what the spectrum is. And, you know, that lows, everyone is going to have the lows, but what can you do to minimize those and pull yourself back up? So I was working under that guide kind of with everyone. And I decided to do this one event just before lockdown for Valentine's Day that was focused on single people, because that's my experience. And I held kind of a half day like mini retreat, and it was so profound. I was like, this is what I'm gonna focus on. It was, I think it was like 7 women, and several of them said the afternoon was life-changing, and it was just us sitting down and having an open, honest conversation about like what it feels like. And this was kind of, most of us were kind of long-term single. It wasn't someone who just kind of, you know, moment in a moment I'm single. And it was kind of longer term. There was one lady who I've worked with one-to-one and still in touch with. She kind of had a series of relationships and kind of didn't know how to be on her own, and she was just starting off on that journey of like, I really need to learn how to do that. And it was just such an amazing afternoon. I was like, this is my thing. Why didn't I get this in the first place? You know, this is my purpose, essentially. And it happened just before lockdown. I'd already named the kind of event under Soulfully Single. It was like that, like nail on the head, Soulfully Single. And then what happened in lockdown was I started holding space for single women who, most of them like me, I don't know if you like remembering back to the beginning of lockdown where you literally weren't allowed to like do anything or go anywhere. You know, a lot of us didn't have any physical contact or like in the same room contact for like 3 months. So I was doing like weekly socials to keep people connected and to be able to kind of like vent what it's like and the frustration of it. So that was a very long intro.
No, there was a lot in there, right? There was a lot in there. First of all, I love the name Soulfully Single. I just want to big up all the others who have jumped on the live. Bless up, Panike. Yes, bless up, Chooks. Yes. So,
hello everyone. I can't see who you are, but hello. Thank you for watching.
So, because there are points whereby it's not just about where your life changes, and it's not just about having a boyfriend or having someone to go cinema with. I don't even know if people still go cinema with Netflix. It's Netflix and chill now, right?
I think so.
I'm a little bit dated. Yeah, back in my day it was cinema and popcorn anyway, right? But it evolves past that especially when you start thinking about like children and creating a family and all of those levels, you know? And so it feels, we say single, but actually it is a multi-layered experience.
Yeah.
Something you said which really stood out for me was about it's a different, and I guess another paradigm of or another way of seeing being single, right? So I remember Ian Levant San. I remember when I went through quite a significant period of being single, after having been in relationships for quite a while. And I'd read Ian Levant San. She had a book called In the Meantime. And I remember it just shifting my perspective around, like, I think it was like, you're not by yourself, you're with yourself. And when you were talking about like the opportunity that came in being single, where you haven't got somebody in a relationship context to necessarily project on or say it's all them or whatever. It's a bit like what I think a lot of people have gone through in the pandemic. That thing where you've had to actually look at your relationship with yourself, you know?
Absolutely. And now I absolutely see it. Like I wouldn't even because if I'm honest, the situation I'm in, I would still love to, birth my own children. I'm cutting it very fine, but nevertheless, I would not change anything about my experience, because I genuinely think if I'd have met someone, I wouldn't have got to this level of self-awareness, so I really do see it as a blessing, and a blessing that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to ever have, because they're always having to concentrate on someone else, you know. And that's, you know, as a parent, definitely, you know, you prioritize your kids, and then after that it's kind of like, well, you're never your own priority again, I would imagine, you know.
Yeah.
So
Do you know what? And the thing is, I think you're right, but at the same time, I think as parents, as people in relationships and in couples, I think that it's really important to still take that level of introspection. Of course, you can't do it at the extent, you know, and I think that's the point that you're making, is that actually, so someone's trying to call me in the middle of a life, right? Yeah, like you don't always get that opportunity to really go in deep, you know, and so that when you are, if you so choose to, be in a divine union, and I'm saying divine union as an assumption, maybe everyone's not, you know, looking for a divine union, right? But I feel like most of the people who will be watching this, they're about that divine union life, you know.
I agree, yeah. And if you're not looking for a divine union, then that's something different anyway. But I think like maybe you want to fill in something before you find your divine union. Do you know what I mean? But I think most people ultimately are looking for a divine union.
Yeah, I think so, you know. And it's like that, I feel like those single, whether it's moments, whether it's periods of time, are opportunity to be the version of yourself that can receive that optimum relationship.
And I guess maybe, I mean, it's very, you know, I'm speaking from my own personal experience. I think just to elaborate kind of what you said, I guess I'm not saying that people who are in a relationship can never experience the self-awareness I've got. That's not where I'm coming from. But I think what I'm really, really grateful for is, I guess what I'm saying, if I'd have had children or other responsibilities during that period, it would have taken me a lot longer, because essentially what I did is I took basically 2 years out to just find out who the F I was. Do you know what I mean? I just dropped everything and was like, you know, everyone kind of, and I did keep doing things, but it was that much of a big deal that like people, you know, my nearest and dearest couldn't not notice it. Like everyone would comment in it, or everyone would, it was a thing, you know, it was a big thing. In the choices I was making in my behaviors, you know, this is just a minor part of it, but a good example is I gave up drinking. And I was the girl who was like, let's get another bottle of wine, like who's having a drink, you know, like let's, you know, let's make it a party. And I was just like, this is not serving me, like I'm not drinking. Everyone thought like, I mean, I was going through something, but everyone thought it was, to be fair, I went through a really dark period, but no one realized that was happening. And it's when I came out, that's when I was like, I don't want to drink anymore. And by that time I was kind of over the worst of it. But at that time, that's when everyone thought I was going into the worst of it, because they didn't understand. It was just kind of, for them, it was kind of, it's out of nowhere, what's happened to her, what's wrong with her, something must be the matter. And it's like, well, no, actually the past year was the worst of it. Now I'm all right, now I'm making good choices, you know what I mean? So that was kind of the journey.
And that, like that thing where you kind of can cover it up, and like, you know, whereby, you know, like I was relating it being like the experience that people were going through during the pandemic, whereby before, because life was so busy, we had all of these things, we could go out for a drink, we could this, we could that, we had lots of like things whereby we could paper over cracks.
Absolutely. You know? I always say denial or distraction is what a lot of people are in. Yeah.
You know, and you went through, and you know, like even sometimes in those times of like doing any sort of detox, it's like not even having like food and chemical reactions as a distraction, just being able to go, right, what do I feel like? What do I feel like if I can't put a chocolate cake in my mouth? What do I feel like if I can't have a drink? What do I feel like if I can't have a split? What is going on in me? You know, and saying, and also a way of saying, you know what, whatever it is, even though I don't know how, but I know that I'm strong enough to hold this experience, you know?
For sure. For me, what I did was I stripped everything, like everything stopped. and then everything that I brought back in was a choice. So, for example, I said about the alcohol, I now drink. I have a completely different drinking pattern, but I drink. I gave up meat. I don't eat meat. I brought fish back in. You know, I gave up a lot of dairy, and now I have minimal dairy and all that kind of thing. And I guess the same with people, the same with relationships. Like, how much time do I want to be spending with that person? Everything became a choice rather than and to be able to do that, I had to like start from nothing again.
So do you find that when you're working with people, or like for those who don't know, you've got a membership, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Do you find that, I don't know, like there's a stigma to being single and to being single at a certain stage in life?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think there is. I think it's strange because I think it's not a stigma. I don't know if stigma is the right word. I think in terms of, as much as I see it, it's very much as like, you know, there's so much opportunity and so much possibility. I think in terms of the way society is set up, it puts you at a disadvantage when you get to a certain age because everything is set up for couples and families. And it's fine when you're in your 20s because people still kind of expect you to be running around having fun and all that kind of thing. When you get to a certain age, it's like, well, you know, and you want to live on your own, for example, you know, if you're literally paying double than what you'd be paying in a couple for your bills and that kind of thing. There are, you know, there's tax breaks, there's joint memberships, there's, you know, everything is like kind of you're doubling up in terms of financial things, I think. And in terms of kind of just the way life is, you know, I've got lots of friends who are in couples and none of them are dismissive or anything like that, but it's just like it's no one's fault. But you know, if you've got kids and a husband, of course you haven't got as much time to be to be focused on your single friend, or you can't think I'll go on a solo holiday. I mean, some people do, but you know, it's a lot more planning, a lot more organization. So I think life is the challenges that single people experience. I don't think many people understand. I think that's what I'm getting at. And even the people who want to understand and try to understand, until you've lived it, you can't. In the same way, and that's not kind of a put down of anyone, in the same way that I can, you know, me and my sister, for example, my sister is now a single parent. She's got 2 young children. And she's got her situation, I've got my situation. We know each other like, you know, we're each other's person. We know each other so well. I can empathize with her very, very well. But can I really understand what it's like to be sleep deprived for 2 years? No, I can't. I can listen to what she's saying, all of that kind of thing, but I can't. And I don't think, and in the same way, she can't really understand what it's like to live on your own for 10 years and never have a person to back you up. And do you know what I mean? It's just that one of those things. It's just a different experience. But I guess for, you know, single women over 35, I guess that's who I'm working with. I think we're a minority. That's the difference. We're a minority. So less people are going to understand our perspective because less people are living it. You're on mute.
Right, I'm still with you. I'm just checking in the comments, right? If anyone's got any questions, pop them in the comments, or just not even just questions, feedback, commentary. If you're watching on a replay, then please do. Like, you're part of this experience as well. Remember, there is no time, space separation, right? So we're in the thing together. You said something that had me thinking in terms of, you know, like there's going to be no situation where we are all having the same experience, you know. However, it's that conversations like these, opening things up and making space for different experiences, you know. Because we're not going to necessarily know what it's like to be in somebody else's shoes. But that's why I like the idea of, I love the idea of soulfully single, you know. Like within my work, I talk about soulful success, you know, having that success which is in alignment with your soul and in alignment with your purpose. So to frame being single in that context, I feel is something that's really empowering. And I say this because I remember, like me and my friends, we used to joke about Beyonce, right? And Destiny's Child, in terms of one song they're telling you to leave your man, okay, my bugaboo. Next minute they're telling you, say my name, where are you? You know what I mean? Next minute, no,
I love this.
To the left is to the left. Then it's I'm independent. Then it's single ladies.
Yeah.
It's which, do you know what I mean? What space,
what is it?
What space am I in? And I'm saying all of this because I think that in the rejection of toxicity and patriarchy and all of the other archies and isms that women have been subject to, and let alone African women and women of color, etc. I think that there's areas where we've potentially thrown the baby out with the bathwater. I hate that phrase, but do you know what I mean, right? Yeah. That's a whole nother thing. I'm not even going to go into that piece of history. But whereby now, we've had to say, yeah, I don't care. I don't want a man. I'm single. I'm, because I am successful, because I earn my own money, because I put my own key through the door. I don't need no man. I don't know. What do you think about all of that vibration?
No, I totally get where you're coming from. I guess from my personal perspective, that's definitely not what I'm saying. Just in case there's any men out there listening. No, but I hear what you're saying. I think and this is I just want to caveat, this is a generalization obviously, but kind of the character that you're describing, I would question if, again, that's kind of that's a denial distraction. Do you know what I mean? To say that they don't, I mean, it's all well and good not needing a man. I don't feel that I need a man, but do I want a man? Do I want a partner? And when I say man, that's because that's my preference, but I mean partner in that. Would I like a partner? Absolutely. So I think and it kind of sums up the soulfully single thing. I think genuinely some people don't want a partner. Potential, and often when I with the women I work with, women who have had potentially because from my experience, I've never lived with anyone. I've had boyfriends, but I've never been as committed with someone that we've moved in, we've pulled our shit, everything's together. But I find with the women kind of in my networks and in my groups and that I've worked with one-to-one, if they've had a long-term relationship and they've had their children and then they're single after that, a lot of them do not want a relationship because they don't feel the need for it. Do you know what I mean? It's not like they want to meet someone so they can have that family. They've had that experience and it didn't work out, and for whatever period, maybe it's a period, maybe it's for the rest of their life or whatever, they don't want a partner. So it's different. But I guess what the term soulfully single for me looks different for everyone, but what it means is to be your soul is full while you're still single. And so a man or your partner is your added bonus. And I absolutely would love for that added bonus to come into my life, but nevertheless my life is so full, I'm fulfilled already,
Yeah. And I want to jump on that. I just want to check in the comments. Okay, so we've got, did you find particular experiences that were common to the women at your Soulfully Single event? Okay, I read that so terribly, right? I'm going to read.
I think I got it. Yeah? Common experiences.
Yeah.
At that first event, actually, it was a mixed bunch, and I think that's why it was so profound, if I'm honest, because everyone told their story and everyone was just so engaged with everyone's personal journey, which were all different. So at that first event, it was very much a mixed bag. Sadly, someone had been in an abusive relationship. Another person had just kind of come to the realization that they were using relationships as a crutch, and they were literally going from man to man to man because they didn't feel safe on their own. There was another lady who'd just split up from her partner and had kids and was now a single person. There was another woman like me who was kind of quite long-term single. It was all different. And I think the power of that was for all of those different experiences to come together and hear each other and support each other. In my group now, again, there's my group now, I think the youngest person is 29 and the oldest person is 52. But within the group, we don't really notice age, which is really nice actually, but we're all in different places. But what I would say is most of the people are late 30s, early 40s, and the journey is very much a crossover. And I think it's the same journey that I described that I went through, and that's why in this case the community is so powerful, because you really, when you're in that kind of like, oh my God, I was banking on the fairy tale. And when I say the fairy tale, I don't mean literally kind of like the perfect person and the perfect this, because by this stage, I think we've all realized that no one's perfect, and, you know, you got to take the rough with the smooth. But definitely in terms of like, my person will come along, that divine union is gonna come in time. And when you're hitting, as a woman, when you're hitting late 30s or early 40s or whatever, and you haven't had children, which is the demographic or group I'm describing at the moment, it feels really lonely, like no one gets it, you know, particularly like there's a lot of us out there, but within each friendship circle there's generally only one or there's none. So within your actual circle, probably what's happened is all of your friends have got partners and or children, and you're the only single one. And as much as like there's thousands of single women like me in London, in your unit you feel completely isolated. So I think that's a really, I guess that would be kind of the majority of the people in the group are kind of late 30s, early 40s. But also the benefit I'm witnessing in that is that the kind of 52-year-olds who've sailed through the whole thing already are able to share their wisdom, and the younger women are able to kind of get the knowledge from both groups, but also share add some freshness to it. Do you know what I mean? So it is a really beautiful blend of personality, stories, all that kind of thing. And what I would say, just, I mean, and maybe it's just kind of by nature of what I do and who's attracted to the group, you know, everyone's got their challenges within the group, but there's a lot of strong ass personalities in the group. And it's brilliant that we all everyone just kind of like embraces that.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, this is the beauty of having community, you know, and having these spaces, because, you know, it's like, you know, there's lots of groups on Facebook, there's lots of groups online, etc., but ultimately this is all about building community, because it can be a lot to go through these experiences on your own, or as you say, you might be a minority in your social setting, you know, but to kind of like extend beyond that and realize, hold on a minute, there are other people having this experience. It's a level of, not that you're looking for external validation, but but being able to see oneself, you know?
Yeah, and just feel like you're not alone. Like, oh my God, I'm not the only person who's going through this, because it does feel like that until you like reach out and meet some other people. Even though, I mean, to me it almost sounds weird, because I'm here and I'm hosting and I'm meeting all the time because it's what I do. But if I take myself back, you know, 4 years, I felt so alone. I was like, no one gets this. Like, no one gets this.
Yeah. And then like, and also, I guess when you create a space, you realize like more people come to the space and say, oh no, I went through that as well, and I went through that as well. And do you see what I mean? Whereby on their own, they might not necessarily have even felt comfortable to speak about it, you know?
Absolutely.
Okay, more comments. What were some of the first things women started doing when they celebrated themselves?
Oh,
I like that one as well.
Just trying to think. I think it was like, I'm trying to think of specific examples. It's tricky for me to think, but I think just kind of as a general thing, I found it's kind of in celebrating each other encourages people to celebrate themselves. Or I think maybe what I often see is people don't even realize it's something to be celebrated. So someone might say something like, oh, I did this, you know, like just share, I did this. And someone else will be like, wow, like whatever. And then they're like, oh yeah, I'm a G. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's like, you're so used to like carrying what you're carrying and managing what you're managing and doing everything yourself, that sometimes it's really nice to kind of think, well, yeah, I've handled that whole situation on my own. I'm amazing, you know, moving house. I don't know, like a lot of it's kind of the practical stuff that it's really nice to have someone to be able to share that with, that we're all just getting on with. And someone say, what, you didn't even like hire anyone to help you? No, I just did it myself. Like, go you. And I think, I guess another thing within the group that and it's something I guess I try and teach is like, and it's, you know, we all anyone in the space would be saying this, so it's not unique to me, but like, take care of yourself, and take care with yourself. And I think that is something when other women see other women taking care of themselves, it's like it's a green light to say, actually, you don't always have to be like managing, you know, just spinning plates, like juggling the whatever, like just stop and like what's going to feel good for you right now, you know, do that.
And that's made me think of opening up to receive the love that you want, you know. And if you're not loving on yourself,
I got goosebumps when you said that. I got goosebumps all over. Yeah.
Then how can you expect, because we have that, right? Like, I think sometimes we do that with the young people, you know, we tell them to don't do this and don't do that, but we're doing it in our adult way, but we're doing the same thing. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, sitting there with our fags going, don't smoke, darling. Not good for you. You know what I mean? And so it's like, if you're feeling yourself like in a way where you're just ragged, and somebody else steps into the space, they're like, oh, she's cool with running herself ragged. Do you see what I mean? It's like, it's almost like creating the culture and allowing people to meet you in that space, you know?
Absolutely, because not only may they come in and think, you know, she's running herself ragged, the truth of it, some real talk is, you know what I mean, you're not going to be attracting, you know, if you want to attract a healthy, happy, whatever it is, partner, and you're not healthy and happy, you ain't attracting that guy. Do you know what I mean? Or if you're attracting that guy, you're not attracting it in the divine union sense. So if, you know, you got to like mirror what as you were saying, what you want to receive. And I see that quite a lot in terms of, you know, really to really kind of get it down to kind of like a real life example. I've had just a really basic example. I've had a conversation with someone who's kind of like, well, you know, I just want to find a man because I don't want to be doing that shit. I don't want to be changing my own will or taking my own car. So this is so gender stereotypical, but it's a realness. I don't want to be like, you know, changing the tire or dealing with the car. I want someone else to do that shit. But then that same person is not nailing any of the female gender roles. And I'm not a gender role person, like, don't get me wrong, but if that's your jam, like, you can't expect the man to be the man and you can't cook a meal. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you gotta get into the person you want to be. Do you know what I mean?
No. Do you know what? And I think this is such an important, these are such important conversations, right? And because everyone's bringing something to the table. It doesn't have to be the same thing. It doesn't have to conform to particular stereotypes. Maybe you're the one who likes to change the tire. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. But it's like, it's not necessarily like, it's not the sameness, but it is that balance. I think that's what the equality and all the rest of it is, the level of contribution and investment. And why I felt that this topic was so important is that this is something that comes up a lot with my clients in terms of looking for that divine union. And also in relation to when you are conscious, when you you've done a certain, or you're doing a certain amount of work, it's not just about having any partner or having any man. You want someone who your purpose and your mission and their purpose and mission can complement each other and support each other in that journey. And so I'm like, well, if you're not about it on your side, then how do you expect someone to come and meet you and be about that purpose, like, and
absolutely
enhance that? Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes we're asking, you know, when we do our list, do you know what I mean? And I want them to look like this, and I want someone like that, and I want someone who drives, and I want whatever. And it's like, okay, that's great. But are we also like going, I would like to be this type of partner, I would like to give, I would like to give, I would like to give.
And like what does, if you want that type of person, what do you know, if you're imagining, this is a vision, if you're visioning this person, you want that type of person, what type of person do you feel that your vision person needs? Do you know what I mean? Because really, you know, and it's not, that's not a negative thing. It's like, you know, I want a guy that inspires me and brings fun into my life, and I would want him to want a partner that brings fun to the table as well and is inspiring. So how am I, you know, what's fun about me? Like, what do I do that's potentially inspiring? Like if you're shooting at those high levels, you have to be shooting for them yourself as well. You can't put someone up to an expectation that you are not even trying for. You can't just sit around like, you know, I got my hair did, I got my nails did, like, come get me. That's not good enough. Do you know what I mean? It's so much deeper than that. When we're, you know, the space that your space, we're in your Facebook group, we're talking about people who are already to a level of spiritual connection and understanding. Like, this is the realness. And I know that, you know, I would imagine not many people who are in this space watching are all about just getting their hair did and their nails did and waiting for it to happen. But that is a reality that is happening. Do you know what I mean? Some people are sitting around making themselves look as pretty as possible and thinking that prettiness is all that's needed. And it's like, that's you're getting no level of connected relationship with that.
But you said something, you made me think of something, right? Which is when you were saying about, you know, you want someone to bring fun into your life. And then it's like, well, I would, and where am I, you know, where am I being that fun character? And, you know, this is now getting into, which we're not going to get too much into, but into the whole vibrational, cultivating the vibration of what you want. You know what I mean? So you want someone to bring in fun. Okay, start having experiences of fun, you know, so that you can start that vibrational match.
Absolutely.
Show up, you know?
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be like, it's not like you have to be the same person. Like, you can still be, one thing that I really love about, you know, when I am seeing people, or I've had boyfriends, one thing that I do love is when they have stuff that I didn't used to do, but I do with them. I love that. But and so I kind of would like to think that I've got something that they would never have experienced, that they think, oh, I love doing that with SJ. Do you know what I mean? I never would have done this, but actually this is quite cool. So it doesn't have to be like the same thing, but you're right, it's about the same vibration. So maybe it's like, I go skateboarding and he likes, I don't know, what is it, anime or some stuff or whatever, and neither of us would ever have done it before, but actually it's like, oh, that's quite fun, I really enjoy that, and it's something you can do together or get more interested in. Or, you know, I just think going back to like, if you want someone to be interesting, be interesting. If you want someone to be intellectual, like, how are you feeding your mind and your spirit, and where are you learning? And like, match the vibration.
And also I think that even the fact that we have these desires that we would want that from someone else, it's also a sign that these are things that need to be that we would like to be cultivated in our lives anyway. Do you see what I mean? Irrespective if it's brought through somebody else or not. Just kind
nail
of.
on.
Okay, I've got a comment here. The ultra independence from men is about being over self-productive. I think, and lack of trust. Yeah. I think that there's. Yeah, I mean, we've all had experiences.
It's like a defense. What was I said? I said denial, distraction, but also defense. Yeah, protection.
Yeah. I think that we've had experiences. We've had experiences, and those experiences, they need healing.
Yeah, and you're like this, right? And I've been in that situation. You're like this, and it takes time, but it's kind of like you got to. And another thing is, it's that learning. Like, we need to heal, but also we need to learn from our. I'm not going to use the word mistakes, but we need to learn from our journey, because it's like, again, it comes down to the type of character you're attracting, the boundaries that you're setting, and who you're allowing into your life. Because obviously, I completely understand that protecting your heart, but actually, if you've got certain boundaries and you've got certain things that are just an absolute no, then you can open your heart. And if you've got boundaries in place, you can open up your heart. Do you know what I mean? If you're making smart choices, you can open up your heart. If you're going for the, for want of a better word, the hot bad guy, I can't help you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've been there. This is not. I can't help you though.
That bit, it could be a whole other episode of live stream, right?
Yes.
I think there are real things around there, because I think that it's partly how we've been educated and what we've been taught. I've got a poem about it. Maybe I'll find it at some point, right? But that whole idea that we're who we're told to in American teen movies, it's the jock, that's the guy everybody goes to. In Greece, it's Danny Zuko or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I know I went back, right? But it's
everyone knows who you're talking about.
Right. What I mean, look, when Superman was Superman and he was flying through the ends and breaking rules, that's when Lois liked him. When he was there, sit down in the office and I write good article and thing, right? When he was all article, she did a business, right? So we're kind of taught like that. Just like on the flip side, and this is very generalized, right? But it's like, on the flip side, with the women that sometimes the guys go for. Do you know what I mean? Like, they go for the women who are in the video talking about, can you pay my bills? And wonder why all she wants you to do is pay your bills, So so I think that, but at the same time, I don't want anybody to feel away if they have made them kind of choices, because I think
I've made those choices, just to be clear. I've made those choices.
I've made those choices.
This is non-judgmental. It's just giving what I've learned, I get it.
This is the thing. I think it's because there are things that we haven't been taught. We've been mistaught. And this isn't blaming anyone, because it's just, everyone's just been taught. We've had, beyond our parents and families, we've got mass media, we've got all the rest of it, we've got the blooming Kardashians, whoever, right? And so, it's kind of confusing out here in these, I'm gonna say, Afromance streets, So
it is.
It's recognizing whatever that patterning is. I think taking that soulfully single time, if you have that opportunity, and going, okay, you know what, I'm going to go in, I'm going to connect with my soul, and I'm going to find out what needs some healing. What do I need to feel safe enough to honor myself, to put those boundaries in place, and to open my heart to receiving the love that the universe has for me, and has for me also in the context of a divine union. Because I'm a bit of a, I am a, not fairy tale, right? But I do believe in, I think it's just all around the universe, right? Cause and effect, up, down, in, out, duality, that divine masculine and that divine feminine, and that that embodiment, you know, for whatever it is you want to create. That could be creation of family, it could be creation of empire, it could be creation of soap in your garden. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
But well, no, it's true. It's whatever like fulfills your soul, right? Whatever makes you.
Yeah, and it's like, and actually seeing that if the universe have designed it in such a way that you're getting that opportunity to be single at whatever point, that it's an opportunity for you to be like, you're prepping for someone who is at the same time prepping for you. And actually, if you lot met each other before, you might have been like, you got issues.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
I'm always saying this. The whole thing about like taking the time, like there's no point whilst you're single. But another thing that often comes up, and I used to be, and it's like waiting. And you were saying like, you said earlier, you know, when we were talking about bringing the fun in, it's like bring it in for yourself. And I find a lot of people I work with are in that kind of limbo, I'm waiting to find, before I do anything with my life, I'm waiting to find the man. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to buy a house because, well, I'll buy one when I get my man. I'm not going to travel the world because I'll travel the world with my man. 5 years later, you've done, you know, I'm not going to say nothing, but there's a lot of opportunities missed, let's say. And what another thing that kind of, with the beauty of hindsight, I can articulate, but one of the real pains for me, kind of when I was at my lowest point, and kind of that it was kind of essentially I was and not to say it's definitely out of the question for me, but I went through a like grieving period of becoming a mum, or the kind of certainty of becoming a mum. And you know, that was really, at the time, it's how I felt at the time, and it was real. But actually, like, there's so many reasons why people can't have children. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's not just because I was older or whatever. And I totally get that now, but this is where I was at the time. And actually, it was kind of like, I think what was painful for me alongside that, in not having a partner at that time, or not meeting the person, because I was putting so much of my, you know, I put all my eggs in one basket as such. It's like I had so much love and there was nowhere for it to go. It was like I was holding the love, and it was almost painful to have all that love and not being able to give it. And the revelation to me, like the liberation for me, was realizing, it sounds so simple now, but this is my truth. The realization was, for me, was like, but you don't have to hold that love. There's like so many places you can put that love in the meantime. Literally, just like with people around me that I can give, that I already love, that I can give more love to. I can give love to myself. That was huge for me, because at the time I definitely wasn't loving or caring for myself at all. I can give that love to myself. You know, in more extreme circumstances, you can find a cause, you can foster, you can, like, there's
do you know what?
infinite outlets to give your love to.
I'm so with you, right? I posted something in the group at some point, maybe last week, Time Space Reality, and it was speaking about aunties, and that aunties like are such a valuable resource that is underrated. And I think that, like, you know, I've been an auntie for way longer than I'd been a mum, you know, first godchild at, I don't know, like 16, 17, you know, and you know, and like, you know, my godchildren, my soul children, like, you know, I've invested in them, nieces, nephews, etc., youth work, you know, outside of my, you know, my little network, etc. And it's like, we've been so like indoctrinated with 2.4, this construct. It's a construct. It's not a natural phenomenon. It's a construct. 2.4 is construct. Do you know what I mean? And it's a construct because it's about isolation, and it's about money. You know, it's about income and families being divided.
Status quo, right? Follow the line. Do the normal things everyone else is doing.
And actually, it's like, you know, when we go into the more divine spaces, it takes a village, and it takes a village of open-hearted people, because we all need love. you know, from granny who now don't move so fast. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To mum who does, like, I realize the value in aunties at another level when I became a mum. Because when you are mash up, mash up, mash up, do you understand? You lead him, whatever, like you're just about, you know, and auntie comes in and takes brother, you understand? And says, let me get you a drink. Let me put, and this is not taking anything away from partners and anybody else, because, you know, like, bless my partner, represent, you know what I mean, right? But it's like aunties, the way aunties came through, do you know what I mean? Like in that kind of really hands-on way. Do you understand? That come, change, up, pull up hand and had energy to go, Grishy. Well, I couldn't even say my name at them points, right? Yeah. Like, this is valuable when auntie can step in. I've got like friends and family who will call me up and say, speak to auntie, and I'll be like, right, okay, because you've got that energy and you've got a level of distance.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that, because being an auntie literally changed my life. And actually my nephew arrived at exactly the time I was at my lowest, and he has you know, I say that he changed my life. It was what for me, if I'm complete, and I wrote about that. I don't think it's a blog, I think I put it in one of my newsletters, but I've had this conversation with my sister, and I've you know, I've publicly written about it. As much as he's my sister's child, because me and my sister are so close, and the time that he came in, I feel like he was like a gift to me.
You see the flash up on the lighter,
because that love that I'm talking about, I did find other outlets, but I poured myself into that child. I put everything. Everything.
When my sister that's closest in age to me, when her nephew, because I've got other nieces and nephews, but they didn't grow up with us because I didn't grow up with that sibling, right? And so when my nephew was born, my nephew was a child of the village. So that was my youth as well. Yeah. Do you understand? That's my youth as well. I don't care. Like, I'm in this thing, whether you want me or not, I'm here. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and so, you know, and there is so much love. You know, I've got elder aunties and, you know, just different. And we're not talking about replacement, but just that, like, I think about people, like I think about a particular period when I was single. And I think about, I was very much there for an uncle of mine, like leading up until when he passed away and transitioned. And that space allowed me to be there. Not to say that I wouldn't have been there, but if I had different responsibilities, I might not have been able to be there in the same way. So I do believe that things are divinely, like, orchestrated so you can be where you need to be. Do you see what I mean? It's like,
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just seeing,
and like, it's almost like, in some ways I see it as in a beautiful way, like service of the soul, right? Service of the soul.
Sorry, you're gonna get another one of these now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Flash up on the lighter. Flash up on the lighter. Have a lighter. Flash it up.
Oh, you know what? Look, I've got a candle lighter.
There you go. Oh, bless you. Bless you. Not old school. I had a clipper. And a little horn. Anyway, you know who's been in the dance hall anyway, isn't it? Right, okay. There is a question here. Can I ask a deep question about moon cycles and men? Oi, my friend. You are starting another life. Thank you for watching. We're going to be in the same place, same time next week. But before we go, SJ, where can we where can people find you? Where can people find out about Soulfully?
Yeah, so if you're on the gram, most people generally are. I'm at Soulfully Single, really super simple. Find me there. I think I'm like 7 people away from 1,000 followers. It's not about the numbers, but you know, I'm looking to get there. And then my website actually is Being SJ. It's not Soulfully Single, so it's being as in human being sj.com. Kind of, you can find everything there. There's all the links. I've got a free Thrive guide, Soulfully Single Thrive guide. So if you're single, download that, and it kind of gives you a really good starting point to how to explore yourself. And then the membership is reopening in June. You can put yourself on the wait list if you go to my website or the link in my bio at Soulfully Single. I think that's it, but there's loads of stuff. Dig into the website, it's all there.
Yeah, and just drop it in the comments as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I'm gonna do, you know what, last week, because we honored Mother's Day, because it's Mother's Day on this side of the world.
Yeah.
I did a playlist for Mother's Day. I think I might do a soulfully.
Oh, yes, girl.
Yeah. I think I will. I'll let you know. But I'm inspired.
Beautiful.
I got songs in my head. You know what song I got in my head? India Ari's "I'm Ready for Love."
Oh yes. Yeah. Hit me with the playlist.
Yeah. I kept getting songs.
I'm feeling a lot of Mary J. Blige going to come through in here. Like there's a lot of things. I'm feeling all of the energy of this. Yeah.
So all of it. All right. Okay. Thank you. And
it has been a pleasure. You were a beautiful host. Thank you, darling.
Thank you.